Alright, you guys, so I keep waiting for the perfect moment to make this video where all of the kids are squared away and, you know, the house is just running smoothly, and that's not happening. I have a bag of diapers behind me that need to go out. I forgot to have my kids take it out. Anyway, so here I am. I'm sharing our January update with you guys. I'm going to tell you guys how homeschool has been going since we started back up. I am going to share an amazing God story with you guys and how he moved in our birth. And I know it's not homeschool related, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And then I'm going to share like our favorite read aloud of the year with you guys in this video. And I'm tired, so give me grace. So we started back up in our homeschool 2 weeks ago, and man, there is power in taking a break. All year long, we have not managed to start history, science, geography, and then like all of our fun morning basket stuff that I had planned for this year. And I've been sharing that with you guys like multiple times. But one of the reasons we haven't been able to start any of that was not only because I wasn't feeling very great in my pregnancy, but also because our homeschool day was just taking so long. We would start around 9 or 10 and we would basically go all day just trying to juggle between the two kids. But ever since we've come back from our break, it has been like smooth sailing. The kids are done by lunchtime. Everybody has just found a really great groove and routine, and if anything, I would have expected once we added the baby for it to kind of get all jostled and be a lot harder, but ever since we started back up, it's been like smooth sailing. And so now I'm feeling confident, like, okay, now we have the time to try to work in some geography, try to work in science and history. And so I'm really hopeful that we will at least end the year better than we started it. And I'm so grateful for that small mercy from the Lord, that everybody is just finding their groove and things. It's so nice. It's like a complete 180 from where we ended in December to where we started in January. It's been such a blessing. Now, as far as our awesome God story, oh my goodness. You guys, I know that in December I shared with you in our update video. I'll link it up above in case you missed it. But I had planned a home birth. I had the worst experience with the midwife that we had chosen. All right, the battery died, so I had to replace it. So this midwife dropped us at 38 weeks, and by God's grace, we found another midwife who was able to take us on with such late notice, and she did home births, birth center births, and hospital births. But because of her malpractice insurance, I was going to have to birth at her birth center because I've had a previous C-section. And so I spent the last 2.5 weeks of my pregnancy like truly grieving not getting my home birth. My heart was completely broken. I would just randomly start crying to my husband. And, you know, it was just something that like I really loved having with my fourth child. And it was just something that was just so peaceful. And it was so nice to be at home in the place that you're the most comfortable and birth your baby, and then have all of their siblings there right away where they can just meet them and love on them and start building those sibling bonds. So I was so just heartbroken and not getting the very thing that I had been planning so long for and that I thought I was going to have. And so the night before my daughter came, I finally just surrendered everything to God, and I realized that I can't be ungrateful when I'm literally in the middle of an answered prayer. If you're new here, this is my rainbow baby, and so I prayed so very hard for so very long for this sweet child. And when I realized that, I just completely surrendered everything to God. I was like, do you know what? For whatever reason you want me to birth at the birth center, I'll go there. I'm going to go there with gratitude because she's my answered prayer, and I can't I can't sit there and be like, oh, I'm so ungrateful that I don't get my home birth, that I'm not going to recognize the very blessing that I'm in the middle of receiving. And sure enough, a few hours later, my contractions started, and a few hours after that, I woke my husband up and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is it. So then we called the midwife and we headed over to the birth center. And once we got there, my contractions completely stalled for like 5 or 6 hours, long enough for the midwife to finally say, I think it might be a good idea for you to go home and rest and eat, shower, take a nap, and then come back when your contractions pick back up. And little did I know how God was going to move in that moment. So my husband and I and our daughter, because she wanted to go for the birth, went back home. I showered and I ate and I took a nap, and then I just, waited out the contractions. And then once they got 7 minutes apart, we called our friend to come watch the kids. We called the midwife to let her know we were going to be on our way as soon as she got here. And then literally 15 minutes later, this baby was coming out. So by God's grace, I ended up getting my home birth. And isn't that amazing how God works when you think that all of the odds are against you, this terrible thing has happened to you, and you're not going to get the very thing that you wanted, and you don't see any way out of it, that God just comes in and puts his hand on the situation and he moves mountains. And so in the most crazy of ways, my husband ended up delivering her, which was not necessarily like too crazy for us, because we ended up calling our midwife late when we planned our first home birth, just because I thought I was going to go a lot longer, and he ended up catching our son as well. So he was at least broken in with, being my interim midwife. And so as he was catching her, he was also calling the midwife and saying, yeah, I think you need to come quickly because she's not going to make it back to the birth center. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, because God moves in amazing and mysterious ways. And sometimes we need to hear stories like this to just kind of renew, how God moves and how he can move mountains and how he can take a situation that does not feel possible and he makes it completely possible. So as I went weeks thinking, I'm not going to get the birth I want. I'm not going to have this experience that I had my heart set on. I'm not, X, Y, and Z, all of these things that run through your head. And little did I know that God was moving in such a way that I just needed to surrender to him in order for him to bring on the blessings. And man, did he bring them on. And also, you guys, there's something so special about a rainbow baby. Something so just redeeming and hope-filled that, their sweet little sounds right now and their little smiles and everything brings. It's everything. Speaking of awesome God stories, I want to share our favorite read aloud for the entire year with you guys. It was The Wonderful Door by Lamplighter Ministries. You guys have heard me talk about Lamplighter Ministries before. We completely fell in love with this story. It was absolutely beautiful, and it's one of those books that, when you read a book and you're like, oh, that was a good book. And then you read a good book and you're like, man, that was a really good book. And it's something that stays with you when you ponder on it long after you're done reading it. That was this book for us. It was so good and so just wholesome and sweet. And it's about a man who is stunted in growth, has some physical abnormalities, and so he doesn't have very many friends. He didn't have any family. He did have his adoptive mom, who was named Betty, and she passes away at the beginning of the story. And after her passing, he moves into a new house. And in the middle of the night, on his first night in the house, he hears a baby crying. And he gets up to investigate, and he thinks it's one of his neighbors, but he's not quite sure because he's brand new, so he doesn't know anybody there. And eventually he finds that the crying is coming from a cabinet inside of his bedroom. and it contains a baby. And so after he reaches out to the authorities to see what's going to happen with this baby, to see what he can do because he doesn't know how to take care of a baby, they tell him to drop the baby off at a local workhouse. And so he's standing on the doorstep of this house, and he's not able to bring himself to drop the child off because he knows that the fate of the child is not going to be that great at the house that he's supposed to take him to. So he finds this older gentleman that he knows, and they decide to raise the baby together because he doesn't know how to care for a baby. He doesn't have any food for the baby. He just moved into this house. And so the older gentleman helps guide him on how to care for the child. And it begins a very beautiful story about fatherly love. And as you go throughout the story, you see their love grow for this child and just how important he is to them and how he has bonded them all to each other and just created this beautiful little family where there was no little family before. And as you get further into the book, you find Abel growing faith slowly but surely. And so I think that this is just such a wonderful book, and it was it was wonderful in so many ways. It had mystery and suspense and intrigue, but it also had a beautiful story of how somebody can find their faith even late in life, that not everybody is brought up just automatically believing in God. Not everybody is born into a family where they are introduced to their Savior right away. Sometimes people come very late in life, and this is just a beautiful story of how that can occur and how it can unfold, and how even the smallest child can play such a pivotal role in somebody coming to their saving faith. This was just such a beautiful story. It was a wholesome story, and it's by far one of my favorites that I've read so far. Now, I will put the disclaimer out there that if you have a sensitive child who does not like the talk of death or anybody dying, this may not be the story for you. I will say that they did not go into anything like in such a graphic way. They just mentioned it, like how his adoptive mother passed away. A few other people later on in the story pass away without saying too much or, giving away too much information. And then, like I already mentioned in the beginning, he wasn't sure if the child was going to make it to the morning. So there are some slightly hard parts to read, but nothing that's, graphic, and nothing that, personally scared my children. When we ended this book, my kids just had this amazing look on their faces. They were like, "Oh, that was so good." And I was like, I know. And it's one of those books that you want to read over and over because it's just so good. So I cannot recommend this book enough. Now, as far as my video schedule, I'm hoping that I will be back in the routine of putting out at least one video for you guys every single week. If I don't make that, then it will be every other week for sure. But yeah, I think life is a little crazy right now. We're still adjusting to life with a newborn. My husband is in school finishing up his bachelor's degree, and he has like 1 million classes, which means he has a ton of homework. And then we're homeschooling on top of everything, and then just regular life stuff. So it's been a challenge to try to get videos up, but I miss it. I miss being here on YouTube, and I miss doing reviews and just chatting with you guys about homeschooling. So I'm looking forward to getting back in the groove of things and putting out one new video a week. So with that said, I do have plans to get back into curriculum reviews for you guys. I got some really fun curriculums for next year that I'm hoping to do flip-throughs for. So while you guys are planning out your homeschool year for next year and what curriculums you want to use, hopefully some of those reviews can help you. I believe one of my very first flip-throughs coming up is going to be some of the new not consumed Bible studies. So I am really excited about doing that for you guys. I hope that you're excited too. If there are any that you would like to see in particular, let me know down below in the comments, and if it happens to be one of the ones that I purchased, I will prioritize that in the beginning of when the curriculum reviews start. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button, and I will see you again later. Bye.